Hey, it's James, Father's Rights and Resources, hashtag how I got custody. You know, there's some dads out there who are getting alienated and pushed over and say, well, I'll just wait till the kids are 18. They'll figure it out. They might not. Every once in a while, sometimes they do, but they might not. Vast majority of the time, I see a guy getting alienated. If he wants to wait around, or guys, the longer time passes, the more that mother gets to brainwash the kids, and then they don't even want to see them when they turn 18 because they believe the story. You know, if somebody's brainwashing your kid at school, or somebody's a bad influence at school, as a good parent, you cut off that person, or you stop letting them go over to Johnny's house because they're all smoking weed over there at age 12 or whatever. You don't say, well, they'll figure it out later. You wouldn't do that in any other scenario. See, the stuff we do in family court, we wouldn't do in any other scenario, because we allow the mother to get away with child abuse and kidnapping and brainwashing our kids. Why? Because we're a bunch of SIMPs and PUSSYs. And we think we're entitled to have rights to our kids without a fight. And technically you are. But it's a cruel world. If everybody was entitled to an easy, conflict-free life, you wouldn't have to struggle. There wouldn't be rape and murder and wars and lying and cheating. For some reason, we just, there's a real spiritual, whether you believe it or not, there's a real spiritual war going on. So let's pretend there is no spirit world. Well, there's some kind of curse, of Jezebel, or a spell that women have over men, where they turn into totally PUNK sissies who are paralyzed to not fight. Because most of the time you guys are in a situation where you're getting alienated because you're playing Mr. Nice Guy. You went to court, your attorney told you, don't call the mother out for her child abuse. Don't call her out for being a suicidal pill-popping maniac. Don't call her out for being a narcissistic monster. Let's just trust the process. And your conscience goes off and says, wait a minute, I need to rescue my kids from this bad, toxic home of the mothers. And your attorney says, don't do that. You can't. And then you, like a good little sheep who worships people in positions of authority and power, bow down and worship your attorney and lick their butt crack and do whatever they say. And then 8 months later, boom, your kids are brainwashed because you got creamed at the hearing. You never got an offensive. You never did a deposition. You lost a hearing. You didn't do a reconsideration. You didn't call the mother out for lying, so they believed her story because she went in there saying, he's a monster, he's a monster. And you're like, dads are people too. Help me. I'm nice and I go to work on time and my neighbors like me. And you have all these declarations, people talk about your good character, and they're not even talking about what a good parent you are or what they saw you parenting. Or the mother's in there saying behind closed doors when nobody was looking, you were an abusive monster. And your attorney's like, well, don't attack that. Let's just talk about your good side. You're being alleged. If you're being accused of murder, you don't go in there and say, hey, I want to put you on the stand and talk about how you volunteered at the food bank 7 years ago. You go in there and you attack the evidence that they have against you for the crime at hand. We do stuff so backwards. People want to blow it off down the road. Well, I had somebody who texted me they wanted to terminate their child support because they heard one of these child support is fraud con artists. Or that lady, there's a black lady who sits in her office and goes, I got another one for you. And she's like, look at this. Minnesota Supreme Court said child support is unconstitutional. And then she's like, yippee-ki-yay. That's Minnesota's Supreme Court. A guy went through, I can't remember if he cited the Commerce Clause, full faith and credit. Is it full faith and credit or full care and credit? While he was texting me on the phone, I went and looked up, and he's like, oh, states should honor other states' laws. Yeah, it says that you should honor them. You don't have to. You guys need to learn to read you guys need to learn how to read some freaking plain-ass English, too. When you look at a court order and read, my gender is so emotional. We'll look at a court order or the language of the law like, oh, this feels good in my favor. If you read the wording of it and it says They should follow it and honor the other side or give it due consideration. That doesn't mean they have to. Unless you're retarded and didn't graduate 6th grade, you should figure some of this stuff out. Now, people want to argue with me over the plain language of the law and waste my time. This is why I can't do one-on-one consultations via text message. People want to just dump their story on me in email and text, send me 50 screenshots of stuff. Hey, read this, and then tell me what you think. No, get a consult. Do you go to a dentist's office and then type a 10-page letter talking about all the different pain you're in and drop it off, say, hey, read this, and then call me when you're ready for me? No, you schedule an appointment with them and you get checked out. That's how it works in normal life. But in family court, my emotional gender loses their freaking mind. It's time to reel it back in and act like a man and be logical and not emotional. It's time to read your court orders so you know what they say. I've countless people who call me up and say, I'm getting screwed because this and that, blah, blah. What's your court order say? Oh, I don't know. We haven't gone by it for a few months. Did you ever read it? I know if I get a job and they want to pay me 70 grand a year, when I sign to come on board, it better say what my wage is, or they should tell me. I don't get a job and they say, well, we'll pay you what's fair. Oh, that sounds great. No, you write it down. Even if you go work for a friend at their job or their corporation, even though a friend hooked you up with a job, it's still written down. They don't say, oh, don't worry, we'll pay you. My gender goes in with that mentality in a court. Oh, me and her will just work it out outside of court. Yeah, this court stuff. You're a lazy ass and you don't care enough about your kids enough to do your due diligence and read every document and read court orders and be on top of this stuff. And because you're lazy, when you have conflict and something hurts your feelings and you didn't have balls to fight right in the first place, then you get royally screwed. And I'm trying to wake people up. This is a war. You don't tiptoe through a war. You don't pussyfoot on the battlefield. If you're in a competitive sport like football or MMA fighting or boxing, you don't tiptoe and dance around the ring and just hope for the other side to give you an opening to punch and knock them out. You have to go to war. You're going to war right now. So many of you guys don't take this seriously. And then when you get totally smashed or destroyed in court, then you're like, oh, this isn't fair, this sucks. Well, the kids will figure it out, and then you quit on your kids. Or some of you have been in and out of court for 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years, and you still never tried the war of attrition that I tell you to try. Getting on the offensive, doing discovery, being the first to do, and if you're not the first to file, I mean, they might blindside you with that, but the mother gets a restraining order behind your back. Do a motion to quash. You don't know what that is? Give my defense against restraining order packet or get a consult with me or watch my videos. A lot of guys say, oh, I wish I would have found you a couple years ago. You should have got off your ass a couple years ago and looked for help beyond the pathetic, horrible help that you did not get from your attorney. There's guys who get in the comments on some pages and say, you're talking all this crap, James. We don't got $100,000 to fight. I've been financially drained. Did you not look at my username? It's how I got custody. Did you not pay attention to every aspect of all my videos or my bio where I said I got full custody without a lawyer? You don't care enough to pay attention. When I first was getting help, before I actually got real help, I went through Goldberg & Jones, a law firm that's divorce for men. They're full of crap. They lie. They said I should get it every other weekend. I said, I work at night. I live 3 blocks from the mom. I should have my daughter during the day, right? That should be an automatic, right? The mother goes to work. I live 3 blocks away. Instead, she started taking the child to a daycare that was 5 miles away from us the opposite way. She worked south. The daycare was north. And she did that just to avoid me. So she paid $600 a month for daycare just to avoid me because she was just a vindictive weirdo psycho. I told Goldberg & Jones, I should have the child during the week and split the weekends and have basically almost a 50-50. They said, you'll probably get it every other weekend. I said, even when I work at night, I hung up on them. Most of you guys would say, okay, whatever you say, you're a lawyer. And even though you're talking a whole bunch of stupid-ass, idiotic, moronic bullcrap, I'll just believe it because you have a suit and tie and you have a law degree. I don't care if they're a rocket scientist. If somebody tells me something stupid, I'm not listening to them. You have to follow your conscience. And I found help searching through the phone book. You guys had me at your fingertips on the web for the past 15 years. If you didn't find answers, you didn't look hard enough. It's time to grow a pair and get on the offensive and go to war.